And ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It is September 20th, 2022, and this is the Voice of Reason podcast. My name is Sean Phillips, and as always, I am joined alongside my two co-hosts, Mr. Andy Van Bever and Travis Kirkendall. Gentlemen, I apologize for the 2 week absence.
No.
But I am back. We are here. How's it been?
Look at that.
Has it been for you guys?
Is it just me, or has the beard actually gotten fuller? I mean, are you
It
really?
has.
So you've hit puberty. It's really filling in now. That's fantastic. I'm so happy for you.
It took me
Your voice
26
does seem a
years
little bit
for
deep.
both testicles
Yeah.
for both testicles to drop. I was about 2/3 of the way down on one, but it went down in the last 2 weeks, and here we are.
And so
I gotta say, that's the greatest Weekend Warrior beard I think I've ever
I
seen.
know. That's exactly what I was just thinking. I was like, Weekend Warrior, get it. The National Guard. The National Guard's calling.
It will be gone probably in October. I will unfortunately have to shave unless they don't call me. That I'm not going to shave. Unless they call me, I'm not arriving anywhere. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
How much longer do you have in?
Yeah, exactly.
Around 4 more years, I think. Not quite. Maybe it might be more like 3.5.
So we're hoping.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Some amount.
I gotcha.
I'm really happy about insurance,
Sure.
though.
So tell us
Yeah.
what. So how's things going out there?
Things are kind of crazy. As crazy as it might be to some to believe, but I am officially the last couple of weeks has been extremely overwhelming. Been hectic, been crazy. But here in a couple days, things are going to tone down, which is going to be really nice. It's just been super hectic trying to get caught up on a lot of things. Other just life issues, like car issues, that of course are just more difficult because it's California, and in Missouri have never been an issue. So just little things, but otherwise good. Like I said, the beard is still here. Definitely the social gloves aspect of working that event was really crazy. And so now that the dust has kind of settled on that, it was everything else just kind of got busy. So a bit hectic, but we are greener pastures are in view. So which is always good.
I think that it's, I watched. So Sean did his. He talked about social gloves. That was his big pay-per-view, and I think I was doing the wedding 2 weeks ago. I was telling him, and I was watching it, and some of the people that they had on there that they were doing for this cause is he texted me. He's like, "Are you watching?" I was like, "I'm going back and forth between the wedding and the pay-per-view," and he's like, "The guys who robbed Jesse Smollett are boxing right now." And I was like, "Oh my God!" So get over there to it, and He said, "Well, first he said it was this one guy," and I was like, "Okay, I don't know who that is." He said, "It's the guy who robbed Jesse Smollett," and I was like, "Oh my God, get over there, turn it on." That was well worth the price of admission. So.
Yeah, and that was actually funny because I had no idea. I had gotten the text from one of the other producers on the show, and it was like, the dude boxing in the ring right now is the guy that fake beat up Jesse Smollett. And I was like, what? And he sent a screenshot of an article about him. I was like, oh my God. So he really beat up someone at this event. So he is, I would say the mugging against Jesse Smollett, thanks to the law, turned out to be a draw. So,
so there was
he is 1-0-1.
Did they actually declare winner? Did they declare winners in this?
He is a boxer. He is an actual boxer. His fight was not an exhibition. So how a lot of these events work, even with these YouTuber events, kind of how they usually go, is some of these fights were pro fights, but Le'Veon Bell, Adrian Peterson, that was just an exhibition because neither of them had any previous boxing experience. But I would say on our main card, we had 2 exhibitions and then 3 exhibitions. One was supposed to be a pro fight, but was moved to an exhibition. and that was the Swaggy P versus like Dominican because
Yep.
Blueface had actually fought before.
Yep.
So things had kind of gotten shuffled around. But then the entire undercard was all um, pro fighters for a promotion called Next Gen, which is like a boxing promotion that specifically caters like a bunch of guys that are either making their pro debuts that actually have potential, or are somewhere in the realm of like 5-0, 6-0, kind of building that up, just to kind of introduce them on a bigger platform, to people that haven't seen haven't seen them yet, because that's the hard part about boxing is it's hard to make your name and make money until you like start to get to that like 14-0, 15-0 kind of range, unless like you're kind of established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where Next Gen kind of comes in. It's trying to change that, where it's giving those guys a platform a bit earlier, on a much larger scale. So regardless of what like a lot of people say about like the YouTuber boxing, I can say that's actually been one of the big things is like people that would never have watched boxing before, they fill the undercards and they fill some of the main card with these guys that, like, if it would have been like on the Canelo card, would have been, not even on TV. So
Yeah.
And talk about making your pro debut. I'm glad to see your daughter can join us this evening too.
yeah, she'll probably be in and out.
That's great.
In and out. Yeah, she's.
So back to what time did that Peterson fight end up going on out there? Because I followed you guys till like 11. So was it like after midnight when you guys ran that fight?
I don't know when it would have been. I wasn't like, I was running around. I wasn't looking at clocks that evening, but I know the event was started late. There were some weather concerns. It was an outdoor venue. So there was concerns about weather. It was actually funny. I saw this like TikTok online that was like, oh, it got delayed because the McBroom family wasn't going to pay the venue, and the venue wasn't going to let them start unless they paid them money, which wasn't the case. It quite literally just came down to, because of the weather, it took longer to get everything ready because there was a huge stage, the ring, like there was a lot of stuff that was going on that got delayed because there was supposed to be rain. So instead of like being able to start at like 4 a.m. for setup, they weren't able to like start till later, like 8 or 9 in the morning, which just caused the gates to open up late because they just weren't done. And as soon as like the gates opened, they started some of the lower card fights. So I actually felt bad for the first guys.
There wasn't anybody there.
People were quite literally walking in. So as they were walking into the venue, they saw a boxing match going on. So a lot of people were confused, and there was a lot of speculation as to what was going on. It was just a weather issue.
That's what I said I guess I caught most of the undercards. And when I looked at the undercards, it just looked like, man, there's nobody. And then I just started seeing people trickle in. I was like, what in the world? These guys are kind of, but
no one showed up to that event. I will say that never changed.
Yeah.
That was one of the problems with the promoters, like the Social Gloves banner. The way that I voiced it, they tried to play Hollywood, and Hollywood said no. Know your audience. McBroom has a YouTube channel. They boast about how it has over 10 million followers. It's 10 million white bitches that watch the family like that love reality TV. It's not 10 million people that are going to tune into boxing.
Well, that's what.
So it was just bad marketing. You think it was just bad marketing?
It was horrendous marketing. So what I found out was that tickets actually didn't go on for sale until like 7 days before the event. The event was originally supposed to be the event was originally supposed to be at Crypto. That got moved. It was moved to the Bank of California. There was legit like no real marketing push for this. And just the thing is, like, the other main event fighter, Anderson Gibb, has a big following and a more like age appropriate who would watch boxing, but he's from the UK. And just for what the card was, like, people weren't going to travel from the UK to watch Anderson Gibb box. They might order it online. But again, the issue was they were charging $40 for the pay-per-view or something like that, when they should have been charging like
you don't
10,
handle
15.
You don't handle any marketing stuff. You're mostly just production and kind of the back kind of deal. You don't
100% production. So
stuff.
Essentially, like the company that I work for, we get hired out by one of the promoters to do like the behind the scenes stuff. There's a whole other team that should have been hired that it doesn't look like was hired that was supposed to do marketing and all that kind of
Gotcha. Okay.
So and then you and so then you did the so then you did the tell us about the interview with Cedric the Entertainer. How did that come to fruition?
So again, it was kind of pure luck. What had happened was, again, because what the group that I was there to be doing, what we were supposed to do is what we were told. Again, this is what we were told. From 4 to 6, there was supposed to be a red carpet event where celebrities were going to be coming to the event. Here's the thing: celebrities in LA are not going to show up between 2 hours early for an event that was supposed to start at 6. When the event didn't even start until about 8, um, celebrities weren't going to show up at 4 o'clock, 4 hours, and just sit in the stands and watch this event. So the issue was that they had people that were supposed to do those interviews, those red carpet interviews, but because like people weren't showing up there at that time, like those people that were supposed to do the interviews had to go back to ringside. They had to go do other jobs that they were like set to do. So we didn't have an interviewer. There was another person that was kind of like, hey, we'll have this person do the interviews, but they were too far away. And we didn't have like communications for me to be like, hey, walk halfway across the stadium because so and so's here. And here's the thing: the celebrities that we were told were going to be there, we weren't about to ask them, hey, will you wait a second so we can radio an
Oh yeah,
interviewer
of
to
course.
walk and be here in 5 minutes to do a 30-second interview with you? It just wasn't going to happen. So we had some of these people coming through, and we just said, "Fuck it!" Like I wrestle, I know how to talk on the mic, so grabbed it, and we said, "If we're gonna be here, we're gonna film something." And so I interviewed a handful of like YouTubers. Again, I wasn't really like familiar with too many of them, but I definitely knew who Cedric the Entertainer was. Um, and so I got to talk to him. I got to meet some of the other people. I met a guy that was real big on Vine, and then he's like done movies, done some stuff. We didn't interview him on camera, but I talked to him for a while. King Batch is his name. Like some people might know who he is. But then I didn't interview, but because they were like Tyga, Chris Brown, YG. They did not care about being interviewed at this event. They were ready to just go sit in their suite, so they just kind of walked on by.
So they
But
were
they were there, and that
they
was
were
cool.
there. Okay,
Hmm.
that's
Yep.
cool.
Sean was
But
did
again,
Jesse Rutherford show up to the event at all?
no, he was. That's not quite his scene.
Oh,
I had to ask. Sorry, I had to ask.
man.
No, I have not
Thinking
seen
for
him
me
yet.
real
I
quick.
trust me. I've not forgotten that if I see him, I am to call you immediately.
Yes, yes, you are.
Oh man. So
That's so cool, man. It's cool to finally have you back on and ask you about the event because I've been
yeah,
wondering, like,
yeah,
God,
yeah.
what all goes into that? Like, what is he actually like? I know you've talked about it, but like now that you've actually done an event like this, I was just wondering, like, what actually happened? What does like all this shit that goes into making this happen? Like, it's crazy.
There
There's a lot
are,
of moving pieces.
and that's one thing that like a lot of people don't understand is the amount of like logistical things that go into it are insane. So like, for example, I know like I've seen before too. It's kind of the same thing that happened with this. Like a lot of people put on like, so there's like Golden Boy Promotions, right?
Right.
They're essentially like they have a boxing license, so they have their fighters that go up that box. Sometimes people have like shit on their events if like the production wasn't great or anything like that, but it's like that's not what those individuals do. They're specifically there to like work with the commissions on getting things licensed. Like I got to see exactly like some of these guys interact with the commission. It was so funny because you could tell like who was a boxer and who was like a reality TV star when the commission's like you have to take your earrings out, and they were just like, I'm not going to name drop. They're like, I can't though. And they're like, are you going to box tomorrow? And they're like, he's like, yeah. And then like, then you're going to take your earrings out because you can't wear them when you're in the boxing ring.
So here's for all of our friends who are watching on Facebook Live. Here is the picture of Sean with Cedric the Entertainer. I just did a still shot from the interview, so there you go. There. So I thought that was pretty cool though when you did that. So he's a promoter. So he's a promoter then, correct?
Who?
Cedric the Entertainer.
No. Cedric was just there as a
I
fan.
thought he was talking.
He was quite.
I thought he was talking about some guy that he was pushing or something, or maybe just a guy that was.
No, no. So that was a buddy of his, Swaggy P.
Okay, so
Nick
Swag,
Young was
got you, got
boxing
you,
on the
got you,
card, and
got you,
they
got
they
you.
kind of trained. Yeah, they had. I guess for like workouts and stuff, Cedric probably goes to the same gym that some of those other celebrity guys probably go to.
Yeah.
Hit mitts and all that good stuff. Yeah.
So what we kind of decided to go with, and I just catch up with Sean to kind of get what was going on. We've got some big issues that we're going to be looking at in the next couple of weeks. We wanted to kind of, after Travis and I spent the last 2 weeks digesting more than I cared to. I guess I would
There
say
was a lot that went into that.
we
Believe it or not.
we both had taken a lot of notes, and we were both just like, and so we're asking Sean's like, okay, what are we going? Sean's like, oh, I'm going to be on this week. I was like, okay, do we really want to tackle big issues? Because Travis and I just were like, and I mean, I know you guys don't see it
Well,
on.
we have like the series coming up that you and I just, well, all three of us had discussed that we're going to be putting out, and then
Yeah, and we're just
we
like,
will be tackling the immigration issue here
yeah,
shortly.
we're not ignoring.
Again,
We
there's a
are,
lot of research that's going into that,
yeah,
because I think there's a lot more than people realize.
yeah, we're definitely
So
not.
yeah, just
So
chose to kind of keep it light this week and
we because that was
talk some other stuff that's not as heavy.
well, I just like I spent in the what 2 seasons now. Hey, by the way, happy episode 28 of season 2, gentlemen.
Nice.
Awesome.
We had put in a lot of between Travis and I, and we just like and I just like, man, let's do something like, because I don't feel like that was a lot of prep work for that. We both put it in. So I mean, when Sean's not when the talent isn't here, Travis and I have to work extra hard to.
Exactly.
So when the
Oh,
when the
shut up.
And we still just
when,
can't
when the
hit the standard, you know.
yeah, I know the standard's way up here, we're down here, and just oh my god. So what have you? But we were just going to talk about a few things. What did you think about the first couple weeks of the NFL season, Sean?
Yeah, so it's kind of been crazy. I've decided. The one thing I have decided is I have no idea. I legitimately have no idea how anybody is beating Buffalo this year. I think if there's
Oh
ever
my
been a
God.
time to bet on a team to go the 17-0 and
Yep.
win it all, it
Yes.
is that team.
Yes.
They
They haven't
have
done anything wrong yet.
dog walked these other teams. But the interesting thing is, I have had so much excitement about this year particularly, because aside from Buffalo, I feel like every other team like has a chance. Like even the bad teams aren't necessarily like extremely bad teams, and even like the teams you think are good could lose on any given Sunday to anybody else. Like this is, in my opinion, going to be one of the most interesting years that we've ever like had in football. I feel like that the tide is kind of shifting to where things are looking a little bit more even for a lot of people.
And I thought it in the years past. I thought, man, it's been, to me, it just seems like it's been mediocre football the last couple of years, and I've watched just teams, and you just with the package that I have with my provider, I get the NFL, and the Sundays that my teams aren't playing. Of course, the Bears played. Well, I won't say the Bears played. The Bears showed up in Green Bay on Sunday night, and the Chiefs played on Thursday night. So I do a lot of the NFL Sunday ticket, which is they go from game to game to game to game to game. It's actually an interesting way to watch the sport. But no, this year I thought I think the football season this year is going to be really good. The thing that I shared this with Travis before we came on tonight. So Sean does fantasy league football, and we played an old buddy of Sean and Travis's, a buddy of ours who's in the Navy, Matt Furcus, and we're playing. And I don't know if you saw the score line or not this morning, Sean. But Furcus beat me by .26 points, and that was the most upsetting, and I was I've never lost a game by like that before, but that was so upsetting. But no, but and so that's what's coming. I was watching so we were, and Sean and I dog each other about the Bears and the Packers, and I was so excited Sunday night, man. And the Bears scored their first touchdown, and I'm texting Sean. I'm like, "Let's go, baby!" And yeah, and then later on in the night, Sean sends me this TikTok that's gonna go, "Yay, the Bears scoring a touchdown," and I was just like, "Thanks, pal. Appreciate that." But
I'm always looking out. I'm always looking out
I
for
had to celebrate the one touchdown that we had, and the only time that we would have a lead over Green Bay all year long, and
well,
but
Mayor Rogers is officially, checked back into the city, doing a lot better than Mayor Lightfoot. I'll tell you that.
oh well, anybody's
If
doing
there's one
better
thing,
than
if there's one thing
Lori Lightfoot.
that at least
Don't
one
have
of
to
the
try
mayors in
very
that town is
hard.
consistent. Yeah.
You definitely don't have to try that hard.
No, but
No, well, never mind. I'll save that for the immigration topic. There was something that happened here recently, and it just kind of blew my mind. I'll just say it. We don't got to get into it. One of the guys I was working with, apparently, so everyone knows they've been sending migrants up to these sanctuary cities, and Lori Lightfoot apparently, supposedly, these people showed up, and she sent them to Burr Ridge, which is they're sending them to suburbs in Chicago. Now, Burr Ridge, of all suburbs, she thought it was a good idea to send these people to mansions.
I already know.
I mean, you
I
just
know.
of all suburbs, just rich. Like no one, there's no townhomes, there's no condos, there's no like little single family homes, mansions, and that's where she these people,
That's great.
and they're like,
That is great.
what the hell is going on? Yeah,
Oh my God, I had not
that's
heard
all I'm gonna
that.
say.
I had not heard that.
We will get into that later,
Oh
but
my
yeah,
God! Why didn't you
it's
tell?
comical some
Oh
of the
my
decisions that
gosh! I
happen.
didn't even hear that. By the way,
Yeah,
counselor Alex Ellison is checking in tonight. And he said, "Very brave to admit that you're friends with Matt Furcus." Yes, we know. Thank you, counselor. Oh my goodness, no. But what? So, Travis, we know you're not the football guy. So, what gets you going this time? I mean, you had the big.
Oh, I know what gave him a quarter chub this past Saturday. Did you watch it all?
so I didn't watch Canelo Triple G3. I just, I love Triple G. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. He's absolutely a Hall of Fame legend. But I knew what was going to happen, man. The guy's 40 years old and he's going against Canelo, who's arguably in his prime and also a Hall of Fame boxer.
Mhm.
So he lost via unanimous decision. From what I heard, he started like super slow, and like from round nine to the end, like he like went out swinging and actually started winning rounds.
So, are you
Like half
talking?
the
Is that
fight,
you say Triple G? I'm sorry. That's go. That,
Gennady Golovkin,
Gennady
yes.
Golovkin.
Yeah. Okay. That's who I thought you were
from
talking about. Yes.
Kazakhstan.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What's awesome about this guy,
Very nice.
people were scared shitless of this guy in his prime. Like nobody wanted to touch him because he knocked everybody out. And he's just the nicest, sweetest dude ever. Like you
Yeah.
would never
Yep.
suspect this guy is like a deadly knockout artist. But yeah,
Yeah, he looks like a dad. He
Yeah.
just
He
looks like a
does.
dad.
and it sucks that there was this whole trilogy with them, and it sucks that like I think it's safe to say he definitely got robbed the first fight. Second fight was pretty close, and yeah, the third obviously he lost. Just I mean the guy's 40 years old, you know.
So, was he?
But I didn't watch that one. But
Is this the same guy
go
that?
ahead.
Is this the same guy that held the title for like 4 or 5 years?
He had it a while, yeah. I mean
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
like I said, no one wanted to mess
Nobody
with
wanted.
this guy
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yep.
I'm with Travis on this one. Like I think we actually, if I'm not mistaken, we like were on the phone during the first fight, and I arguably again thought Gennady Golovkin won, and I
Yeah,
actually was like thought it was a pretty decisive win. Like not even like oh, this could have gone either way. It was straight up like, yeah, Gennady took that pretty easily. And then when they started reading the judges' score, I was like, what? Because it ended in a draw, if I'm not mistaken.
The first one was a draw.
Yes, which was a load, and Canelo won the second fight. Yeah, and again,
Even
I
that
haven't
was
watched the.
close.
Yeah, it was still that was the thing. It's like it was a close
Yeah.
fight, but the first one, the fact that they called it a draw was ridiculous.
There was too much money
was.
on Canelo for
Well,
him to lose. You
so
know, that's the problem with boxing. Boxing is such a corrupt sport.
and they say
It really is.
Canelo needs to have surgery on his left hand after beating. Jeez,
Yeah,
that tells you something
and
about
I
that
think
guy's
he's
jaw.
gonna try to avenge his loss against the guy he just lost to.
Yeah.
Before Golovkin. And then 2 weeks ago, I watched the Nate Diaz's fight with Tony Ferguson, which I don't usually buy pay-per-views very often, but I knew it was probably potentially going to be his last fight. I knew he was fighting Tony Ferguson, which is also a legend, so I had to tune in that.
Well,
That was a fun
and that
fight.
made me
That was worth it.
no offense to you, Sean, but when I heard when that fight was on and Travis, I was like, oh my god, I missed that fight. And Sean's
No,
asking,
you were
Sean's asking
no
me,
offense to me at all.
you're like, Sean, are you watching the social? And I sent him a screenshot. I was like, yeah, I was doing a wedding, and we did do, on a totally separate note, we did do our last, Van Bibber and Son DJ is now wide open for any, but we did our last gig Saturday. And
Yeah, you did.
Let me.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking white.
I'm sorry. So
Not wrong.
no. So, and you know what? Thank you, Twin Pikes Family YMCA, for doing this. I have a lot of my friends who work over there: Arthur Hamill, Sean Gerald. I can't think of the CEO of the YMCA here in town though, but they do a great job. And so the CEO, his name's Gerald too, and this guy's from Columbus, Georgia. We're talking south of Atlanta, Georgia. Okay.
Yeah, I know where Columbus is.
And this guy is, and he's used me before. We've done events before, and he messages me. He texted me about 3 weeks ago, and he said, "Andy, it's Gerald from YMCA." I said, "Hey, man," he said, we're trying to find a DJ for our annual fundraiser, and this is a big deal for the YMCA they do every year." And I said, "Oh, I'd be honored to, you know." He said, "Yeah, we can't find a band to meet our theme." And I said, "Okay." I said, "What's your theme?" And he said, "Country Western." And I was like, now there's a difference. Now when you DJ, and Sean, you know your music as well. When you say country is one thing. When you say country Western, we're talking, just the old. And so he puts me in line with the president of the board of the YMCA, and she's the one organizing this thing. And she's like, I just don't like the new country today. It's too rappy, and can you get some older country? And I'm like, okay, I've got a pretty wide.
She doesn't like country pop.
She doesn't like country pop.
Pretty much what 90% of new country music is.
And it is, and I like the old country music. I don't like new country, and I'm not a fan of old country, huge fan. But so I put together the widest, fly your Confederate flag, kiss your sister, eat your mayonnaise sandwich, music that you could possibly play. And
I would prefer if the music you have, you play whatever country song you want, but if it's Kane Brown and if it's Darius Rucker, please,
yeah,
please.
Just about to say it better.
Leave it off.
Well, she did. So
thank you so much.
So for the pre, when everybody was still just arriving, so I'm just playing. I had Apple Music, and I'm just playing the country station, the current country hits. And she comes over to me, and I swear to you, she comes over to me and she says, "I was wanting some older country. Do you have any Patsy Cline?" And I texted my wife that, and my wife about fell out of her chair. She's like, "Patsy Cline?" And she's like, "Are these people dead?" And I was like, so I put my list back on, And man, we had I sent a video to Sean and to Travis. It was just country two stepping, and I can honestly say that there was a rager at the Y because man, by the end of the night,
By
they
the end of the night, they busted out the bed sheets and
well there were
sparked
no
up some torches and
they were
had themselves a good old
burning
hoedown.
crosses in the yeah. But I never think I would say that people were liquored up at the YMCA, but people were liquored up at the YMCA. So it was quite entertaining. And in my line of work, I think I've said that I've done it. I've pretty much done it all now, and just I've seen everything. And it was the easiest job that I ever did, though. I just put literally on that one. I just pushed play, and they were just loving every song that was coming up because it was just like oh here's John Michael Montgomery, and here's, Rascal Flats and blah. And it's like, and
That's your music. We know.
well, so, but other than that, no, then the other thing that we kind of want to look at is kind of some things that we're looking forward to as far as in the entertainment world. And Sean, I do want to get your take on, have you watched any of the She-Hulk yet?
I have not. No, I haven't. Truthfully,
Don't waste your time.
The last superhero show that I watched, Tony and I had been watching The Boys, and if you haven't watched The Boys, I would strongly
Amazon Prime.
recommend
Yep.
it. Definitely not children friendly.
No,
but if you are a fan of like really good storytelling and crazy action, and you like superheroes, The Boys is seriously like the best show out right now. We're in the middle. We've watched a couple episodes of season 3, and it's actually insane. It's a really, really good program. But I've also started. I watched the first 2 episodes of the new Lord of the Rings show, and Travis, I would actually love to get your take on this because I know you're a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And
I am.
I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed them. I don't know if you've watched it. Just want to get your.
I have not seen it. I've heard mixed reviews, so I know I will watch it eventually, just because I'm just a huge fan of that world, that franchise. But I've heard mixed reviews. So you said you watched the first 2 and it was decent.
Yeah, so the main thing that I've seen people be angry about is they're like, how could there be a black hobbit? There is no such thing as short black people. Like that is kind of what the internet is like said, and they're like, oh my god, a strong woman protagonist. Like it's ridiculous. I'm dead ass. Like when I say this, it is probably the most beautiful show I have ever seen.
Really?
Really?
If so, I'm gonna nerd out moment. But if you guys were a fan of the Lord of the Rings, but you didn't like The Hobbit, part of the reason why I did not like The Hobbit as much was because it was all green screen.
Yep.
This show, first to just kind of put it in perspective, it is the largest budget a television show has ever had per episode.
Really?
Yes. Amazon is paying, I think, for the first season. I might be mistaken, but it was upwards. I think it was like $1 billion for the first season, which was
serious?
Like 8 episodes. It's insane how much money went into this program.
They're back in New Zealand, aren't they, for some of the filming?
Correct. So that's the thing is this is using practical effects. They went back to the roots of practical effects, and you can see it. The costume design is gorgeous. The looks of like some of the like medieval creatures, it's a perfect blend of CGI and practical effects and costumes and makeups, and the cinematography in it is great. I've loved the story so far. Like I said, I'm only 2 episodes in, but it's very like it's very much. I think that's another reason why The Hobbit kind of struggled, was The Hobbit was like it had to stick with one story. Whereas, and they kind of tried to add more stories to it that weren't, like in the book.
Right.
So it kind of suffered a little bit. But if you read The Lord of the Rings, there's like 4 different stories happening all at once. And so it takes you to and that's what this show does. This show kind of takes you to a bunch of different characters spaced across Middle Earth. And it's really cool. It actually, like, goes deep into the elf folklore that wasn't
Yeah,
really
Yeah.
explored.
because
And
it's based off of like some of the like the books that happened prior to Lord of the Rings, like the
correct,
Samaritan and
correct.
or
Right.
like I know I said that wrong, but it's there's a
The
he wrote there was other books that
my
take place
brother
prior
my
to.
brothers were big, huge J.R. Tolkien fans, and they had. I mean, I got out of a book that I was reading. It was kind of it was a book that taught it discussed how J.R.R. Tolkien had come up with a lot of the imagery in his head was from fighting in World War One, and how he and his friendship with C.S. Lewis, they were in that. I can't think of the name. It's been so long since I've read that book, but it talks about
The boy were they in the Boy Scouts of America together?
no. They were in some kind of it was some kind of thing with Oxford. I forgot what it was called that they were in. But J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and another writer, I can't think of the name, but a lot of the imagery and a lot of the stuff that Tolkien got came from fighting in the trenches. In
J.K. Rowling was the
Yeah.
other author that was.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling was right there saying, "Man, Harry Potter's going to roll hard with this."
Yeah, Harry Potter's actually been around since like the
So
1920s. No big deal.
you mentioned the Black Hobbit. How about let's just quickly delve into all the
Oh, the Little
controversy.
Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid. Dear God in heaven, how much people
Yes.
are losing their crap over a black. Well, Hans Christian Andersen was a Danish writer, and he wrote this to be, about a white mermaid. And blah, 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 blah. Um, my, I was just like, calm down. She's
I
black.
think that's like probably like the funniest thing. Um, to me, that shit's hilarious because like yeah, people are like, well, Ariel was white. We can't ruin a good thing, and you just literally have to look at it and go, you're right. The made up cartoon character that never existed. That
Yep,
not only
yep.
not only it's she's not even a person. She's a mermaid. A mermaid. Yes, and the first thing people, oh, it's woke culture, it's introduction,
Oh
it's
my
this, and it's
gosh.
like it's seriously
Introduction
one
of
of the
what? Like
Well,
it's yeah,
some of these
that's
sites I was go.
wokeism culture.
Well, some of these
well, there
sites.
was, I don't know if you guys remember when the Obi-Wan series came out, there was a bunch of controversy because of what's her name? Black female who has like a big part of the
The
show, and people are like so mad about it. And I was
yeah.
like,
There's only one
what?
black Jedi in that universe, and his name's Mace Windu.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
and
we'll
I
give
and I
Samuel
thought
L. Jackson a
and I
pass.
thought I thought that Kenobi was well. I thought that was well done too. I liked that one, but
Oh, I loved it. I
it was
loved it. And here's the thing too, is like her character, like
oh
you
yeah.
weren't really supposed to like her, like she was an antagonist,
But towards the end, you
and
felt sympathy
it
for her.
slowly changes. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
exactly.
did that
And so they did a
perfectly.
beautiful job at that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's the fact that people are so butthurt about the fact that it's like, oh, Disney's going woke trying to promote a black female actress, and it's like, no, like
well,
that's
the thing that I got from that, so they were talking. Which, by the way, let's just call a duck and say this: that every live action thing that Disney has tried to do with the Mulan wasn't terrible, but the Beauty and the Beast, the
No,
what
actually, that would have been great if they would have done Mulan with a black woman. That would have actually been
a
great.
black
yes, they should have
Chinese.
done that.
It, but
planted
that was the
planted in
thing,
Asia.
and so one of these sites were saying, well, when they did Mulan, they used a Chinese actor. When they did Aladdin, they used Arabic people. I was like, yes, and they also used the blue Will Smith. What's your point? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you're not.
Could you imagine if they would have
Oh
made The
man.
Lion King with real lions?
Yeah,
I mean, it
No, how
actually
dare
like was
they?
just as boring. It would have been just as boring if they would have just filmed like actual lions, which
but
that's the same.
anymore, it's like you can't enjoy entertainment without just for its pure. I think that I think that
Well, so here's. Do you guys remember they made a big deal? Like people were making a big deal about when the Buzz Lightyear movie came out, the new one, Lightyear. Everyone was throwing a fit because they're forcing in a gay relationship into this movie, and it's like a huge thing, and all these people complain that it's been. If you watch the movie, it is literally like the line is like, oh yeah, me and my wife, or me and my there's a woman commander, and she's like, oh yeah, me and my like I'm dating this person, it's my girlfriend, and like that is the extent of it,
defining
and yet there was
that
this
ruined the whole film.
huge big
Yeah.
deal. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It's like,
Well, and you also,
yeah,
even though the rise of Skywalker, even though it was not Star Wars' brightest moment, they had the lesbian kiss in the end of that, and I actually didn't notice it until somebody pointed out, they ruined the Star Wars franchise by having a
the
lesbian kiss,
best
and I was
the
like,
best part of the movie.
yeah. Sean was like, Sean's got that on DVR. He's like, rewind, play, rewind, play, rewind, play, rewind, play. Okay, girls, now this time loosen up the top of your no. But I think I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
No, the one that I'm actually looking forward to with Star Wars is this Andor that's coming up,
Yeah,
and
that one looks good.
and I
Well, I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement that Rogue
yeah,
One has
just
been
get
the best Disney
yes,
movie that they've put out so
yes.
far.
Yeah.
I was going to say I'm going to make the unpopular statement, but Rogue One by far. Solo, when they did Solo, the pre-story of Han Solo was terrible. Was terrible. I struggled through it, and I tried to watch it again. I was like, it didn't work. The what was it? So I'm a purist when it comes to some of the stuff. But when they did Rogue One, they said it perfectly, and everything flew. I mean, you had that connection between episode 3 to episode 4, and Rogue One filled it, and you fell in love with this guy Andor, and his, you wanted more of his backstory. And I think Star Wars is, and the previews that I've seen just about every preview that I could possibly watch for this thing. And
It's actually really cool. The cool part about living in Los Angeles is that there's a huge Andor poster that takes up the entire side of a building on Sunset Boulevard. It's really cool, and then like the posters are all over the city.
yeah, so and I don't, is that coming? What is that? That's uh, when is that coming out?
I think the first 2 episodes or 3 episodes are
Three, the
out
first
Three
three.
episodes.
like next week or the following week. I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really, really soon. Here, let me look it up
Yeah,
really
that
quick.
and the Star Wars, as far as their TV series, they did a great job with Kenobi. They did a great job with Mandalorian.
September 21st,
That
Wednesday.
that's tomorrow. Wow,
Yeah, they're
fantastic.
releasing episodes 1, 2, and 3 tomorrow.
Well, I can tell you what I'm going to be doing tomorrow night then. So, but no, Sean, I'm not doing that. Whatever you were going to say, whatever you were thinking, no, I'm not going to do that.
Okay, if you were.
But I think
Hey,
that.
look at me, honey. I'm playing with my lightsaber.
But no, that's been, of course, also this Friday. I also have to ask you if you guys are buying into the hype of the new, what's the, oh, I just totally went blank. The Avatar, the new Avatar movie or whatever. I guess that's coming out on Friday or whatever
No,
it is.
no. It's not coming out on Friday. They're re-releasing Avatar
Oh,
1 into theaters this
I
Friday. Yeah,
got
yeah, for
you.
limited
All
time.
right.
Yeah, they gotta get more money out of it before they release the second one.
Well, they're pulling the same stunt that Marvel did to make it the best opening, or what was that when Endgame came out, and then they wanted to beat James Cameron, and then they re-released Endgame just to get it to get top Avatar's numbers or whatever it was. So I'm sure James Cameron is.
Which is funny because now that Disney owns Avatar. So,
Really?
yeah, they
Who?
Yeah,
because remember
I'm pretty sure
when
they
they
bought
bought
it. Yeah.
Fox. Yeah, when they bought Fox, that was part of
I
the
was gonna say, is that
intellectual
20?
property that they bought.
That's the thing. Disney is such a powerhouse. Like it really is. They own everything, and everyone's always talking shit on Disney. Dude, Disney's not going anywhere.
That
They have way too much rights to stuff. They own too many amazing franchises. Like they're not going anywhere.
how long? How
Well,
much?
and that's why. Say, go ahead, B.
I was gonna say, how much long? I mean, at what point? Now, this may sound like a silly question, but at what point is somebody like the SEC or somebody going to step in and say, okay, you've got to stop because you're getting a market, a full on corner on the market in the entertainment industry? Because when you look at who, I mean, they don't own Sony yet. They don't own, I'm guessing they don't own Columbia Pictures. So, I mean, who,
Well,
Illuminate, they don't own Illumination. They don't own DreamWorks. So I mean, is there any other MGM? But MGM hasn't made decent stuff in forever.
MGM's owned by Amazon now.
yeah. So they're
God,
it's
So
the same thing as like
here's
telecom. Like you have T-Mobile and AT&T that are buying up everybody. Like those are the two big carriers. It's the same shit, and it's a, call it what it is. It's a monopoly, man.
well, so
And there's like
I
the
don't
same
even.
things happen in entertainment.
Who's the CEO? I don't even know who the CEO is of Disney anymore. It's not the. It's not the.
It's not the guy they had for years.
It's
It's
not. It's not. Not Eisner. Is it Michael Eisner? Is that who I'm thinking of? It's not Michael Eisner.
let me do a little
oh, it's Bob Chapek.
Google.
Bob Chapek, I think is his
Yep,
name.
Bob Chapek.
So I've never heard of this guy. So, but to me, there along that line, and we've actually been talking about in my U.S. history class. I explained to them what horizontal integration is, and basically buying up all of your.
And
Go ahead.
on a quick Google search of this guy, Disney CEO Bob Chapek said he'd like to own all of Hulu tomorrow, but says chances of an early deal are slim. So I
I didn't
mean,
even. Disney's trying to acquire Hulu.
Disney owns Hulu. Hulu is part
but
of
they're
the
trying to
Disney
acquire
umbrella.
all of it. I
Oh,
think
I
he's
got
trying
what
to
you're saying.
acquire
I
like
was going to say they have ESPN already, and I didn't know what. I mean, when you think about what. I mean, but is that so? You're in the entertainment industry, Sean. I mean, is that good or bad for the entertainment industry that you have one major conglomerate that owns? I mean, it's like if you know whose salad you have to toss to get into the movies. It's just anybody on the Disney board. I mean, is that good or bad for the entertainment industry?
So it depends on how you splice it. So I'm going to go on a semi rant. I apologize to you guys, but I'll try to explain this the best I can. It is at times very good for the actors because it's just like wrestling. Like competition drives the market. So you have all these different streaming services. You have all these different networks that are trying to get theirs. Well, guess what? What that means is they have to produce original content, which means they have to hire actors and they have to hire casting directors and they have to hire all these people to make these shows. Here's the problem. It can hurt the actor because that means that the actor themselves are going to get paid less because now with streaming services, what's different than network television is you want to know what streaming services don't include that network television deals do when shows get syndicated? Residuals. You don't get residuals based from Netflix. So you have shows like Squid Game, Stranger Things that they make where these actors and actresses they get paid what they get paid, and then there's no gain to it.
Well, that's what I
So I'm
saw.
a firm believer that I think the big three overall winners are going to be Disney in third place. And even though like right now Disney is first, Disney recently surpassed Netflix in the last quarter for the most subscribers if you include Hulu, Disney Plus, and
Yeah,
ESPN
ESPN
Plus
Plus.
all in one. But I think that the two that will eventually, and it might be in a decade from now, but the two that I think that are going to surpass them are Apple and Amazon. And here's why. In this business, I think the winners of the streaming wars of the entertainment industry are going to be the people that have the pockets to pay for live sports. You look at Apple; they just signed a massive deal with Major League Soccer. And yeah, Major League Soccer isn't the biggest thing. However, I think it's more of a tester. It's the same thing with MLB. They have the technology, they're building the platform so that when things like the NFL become available, NBA rights become available, those are going to swoop them up. And the reason why I think Apple and Amazon is because if you look at their markets, they have unlimited money. They are the two that truly have nothing to lose because they can make their money back in other ways. Same with Disney. Disney has ways to make revenue other than just the entertainment field. Not as much though as Apple and Amazon. But if we take a look like at Netflix, right? Netflix had to lay off tons of employees. They had to shut down a ton of different office buildings because they struggled financially. What Netflix is struggling with is they're pumping out original content. It's harder for them to gain licensing rights for these other shows. Why? Because places like Viacom, Paramount Plus exists. Now you have CBS All Access. You have everyone's trying to get into the streaming market.
Peacock.
But I eventually think that that Disney, with they've already shown with Fox, with ESPN, with all these different networks, Disney is buying them. I think you will start to see Apple purchase some of these things, and I think you'll same thing with. So look at HBO Max that's going away. Got absorbed by Discovery. In America, we don't think Discovery is that big of a deal.
Overseas.
However, across the globe, it's massive. That's the parent umbrella now. So I think that these industries that have deeper pocketbooks like Amazon that eventually I genuinely believe like they're going to get NFL like network and they're going to have NFL Sunday Ticket through Amazon. That's going to be the driving force.
They already do.
We know
they do. Amazon
Thursday Night Football.
Amazon does Red Zone.
They have Red Zone and they have Thursday Night Football. Yeah. So it's like once those live sports, and again, not everyone is all about live sports, but I just think those are the guys that are going to have the deepest pocketbooks, and they're going to be the ones that buy and partner. Like, if I think like a bunch of different streaming services have deals where it's like, hey, if you have a Stars login, you can add it to your Hulu Premium, or
Well, two things I want to point out I want to go back to two things that you said. Number one, the Squid Game things. I think it was you, and I think you sent me a link to an article about. Didn't you say the actors in Squid Games didn't make jack? Was that you? Didn't you tell me it was like, and since there were no residuals, those guys weren't going to see anything from as like the Squid Game guys. They were paid like piss poor wages.
I don't know about that. I do know that like the show itself didn't have like a crazy large budget.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. Yeah, I know that they're not getting residuals, and it was
yes.
Netflix's most watched show.
Yeah, it was last
year. So,
second thing was, so I watched, and Sean can get his groaning out of the way when I say this, but I watched the Kansas City Chiefs game last Thursday night on Amazon, and so there were three feeds of that game. You had Al Michaels and I think it was Kirk Herbstreit who did the game. And then you had the live game. Then they did a simulcast with Dude Perfect, and I love Dude Perfect. I love their content on YouTube, and my kids like watching it. But they were doing a simulcast with Dude Perfect, trying to do like the the Mannings do with Monday Night Football. Didn't really work. And then they had a third channel that I probably stayed locked into 3/4 of the time. Amazon has the AWS, the Stat That, and they were plugging that stuff in real time into the game. And if you nerd out on football and you don't have Amazon Prime, you need to get it if you're a football fan just for that reason. Because they show the play like a coach would draw it out on it. They're showing that play as it happens. They're showing the X's and O's as it happens. And it was very, very, very cool to watch that and to see, I see how that play, and it was very impressive on how they did that. So, but I'm with you, Sean. If they do it that way, then that's going to win them. That's going to win them a lot of viewers. So anyway, I think we're getting close enough to the clock on the wall, and I know Sean has to get signed out here before long. But
yes, sir.
Man, it's so great seeing that handsome beard just growing all over the place, and I feel like I need to plant a garden in there now or something, and just see daisies start pumping up through there or something.
Soon here, but no, I'm sad because I'll probably have to shave it mid-October, but that'll be the death of it. But no, again, it was great to be back on. Great to talk to you guys as always. I'm excited for our conversation next week, just because, like, as we do deep dive into that, the more serious stuff,
Definitely
especially
tell your
like
friends about that. Yeah.
always, yeah. So for sure, if you find time this week, as we always say, be a friend, tell a friend, but definitely, let them know where to catch us next week. And even if they can't catch us live, make sure they check out the show later on, especially if, you see someone that's got a really loud opinion kind of about these kinds of things. I know that I see people that talk about, oh, it's the greatest thing ever that they're sending these people elsewhere. Like, just join us next week, take a listen, comment along, and I can't wait to talk to you guys.
All right, we'll see y'all next week.